Crazy. Hello and welcome to the Social Recruiting Show. I'm Katrina Collier. I'm a social recruiting trainer and a speaker. I'm, of course, joined by my gorgeous co-host, Audra Knight, who is an employer branding nerd, recruitment marketing specialist, whatever I'm calling you. Every week it changes. You're an expert. This week we're very excited to have slightly less famous Bryan Adams joining us from PH Creative. Only slightly, to talk about candidate experience. Way cooler.
Good save. Good save. Well done.
Good save. I know, you've probably heard that Bryan, 1,000 times.
Every day. Every day.
Yeah, honestly, I bet. So, Bryan, I know that you're the CEO, right, of PH Creative?
It is
correct?
Yeah.
Yep. And also an author of a really fantastic book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw that.
It's really, really good book. Well done. But can you just bring us kind of into how you know, where you're at now and give us a little background of your career?
Okay. Well, I started the company 12 years ago. My background's in marketing and design. And the agency, so we're based in Liverpool in the UK, which is the center of the universe for anyone that doesn't know. And it really is.
It's such a north-south divide, isn't there? And I'm down here in London going,
But so we've been like a general digital marketing agency for probably the first 8 years. And then something really, I don't know, serendipitous happened about 3 or 4 years ago with my partner, Google Dave, which if you've not met Google Dave, you're missing out. He's a legend in his own lunchtime. He certainly is. But he had some experience in recruitment. He said, hey, why don't we see if we can apply some of this digital marketing stuff to recruitment and talent? And then we started to really focus in on the sector, and you know, we kind of haven't looked back. But that's where our focus is now. Half of our clients are still not talent and recruitment focused, but actually what we're finding is that's what keeps us on our toes, and that's where all of the a lot of the insight and the lessons are coming from, and we're really enjoying applying it in this space, and we're having a lot of fun. You know, we're having a lot of fun.
That doesn't surprise me though. Look, recruitment's still kind of behind. There's still also there's so much friction within companies as well, isn't there? So where does recruitment fall? Is it in HR? Is it in marketing? Is it in sales? Is it? We've had this discussion on so many of these shows as to where should it fall if it's on the in-house side, and then the agency side has still kind of got their heads in the sand. And sometimes I'm having conversations with agents and like, we can't teach you that social media. And you're like, really? What do you think your clients are doing? Like, come on. And you're like, it's 2016.
Yeah, I
mean, it doesn't surprise me that they're driving it, that the non-recruitment are driving it.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at e-commerce, and we do this quite regularly, we compare a job detail page to a product page.
Yeah, talk about the beanbag.
Yeah, the beanbag on Made.
I love that story.
So
the beanbag on where? Sorry.
On Made.com. If you're familiar with that site, it's a brilliant e-commerce website. Yeah. And the time and effort and focus and science behind getting the marginal gains of every aspect of conversion during the experience of buying a beanbag is just light years away from how we treat candidates, attract them to a career website, and try and convert them into an applicant in a nice experience and a scientific way. You know, so we apply basic metrics from these other worlds, and it's sometimes really, really interesting the feedback that we get. It's like, wow, that's amazing, and you know, we've been doing stuff for years. Just it's
do you use the whole creepy pixel thing then? So if I go and look at the beanbag, I'm going to see it on Facebook and Instagram for the next 2 months.
It's genius.
Just be going. So I did it on a futon. I'm like, I didn't want the futon, and it kept appearing and appearing. It was so annoying.
I think it's genius.
Do you do that for jobs as well, though? I think that would be cool.
Absolutely. We do some really crazy stuff to attract people to brands and jobs. And the creepy pixel, as you put it, is just one. But actually,
I love them.
it's a really good example of. You know, it's not the tools, it's how you use the tools. And if you think it's a creepy pixel, the pixel isn't being used properly. You know, it's just poor execution because, you know, there's different ways of using technology to create a good experience. So one thing that we're really enjoying at the moment is focusing all of our digital marketing expertise and all of our insight towards an agency dedicated to better candidate experience.
Yeah.
And on the face of it, when we deliberated this, we thought this is actually quite risky, because you speak to a head of resourcing, a head of talent. They are not necessarily focused, their top priority, on the experience of the candidate.
No.
So this might be a challenge. However, if you look at customer experience and e-commerce and other digital marketing initiatives and projects, it always comes down to the customer, So we believe that every challenge that you have can be linked back to, well, actually, what's it look like from the candidate's perspective? So time to hire, cost per hire can all be reduced and improved upon if you focus on the candidate, So that's probably our best example of using outside influence to improve on what we're doing in talent and recruitment.
Did Audra tell you my favorite thing to do when I'm speaking at conferences, which admittedly I did steal from a digital marketer?
Enlighten me.
I love getting the people that are there, who are usually recruiters or HR, to get up and try and apply for their job on their mobile phone. It's so much fun watching them freak out.
I bet you can lose so many friends very quickly if you do that.
Well, they can't do it, and it's just like,
yeah.
What do you do first thing in the morning? You read your emails on your phone. So even if you're going from an email, you still want to apply on that mobile, and it's just like,
absolutely.
That's before you even get into the rest of your candidate experience.
No, it's a really, really good point. But a store manager will walk the floor at least 12 times a day just to see what their brand feels like from a customer point of view. Yeah. And you ask a simple question when you're talking. We do the same. How many people have applied for a job at their own company recently in the last month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months? And it can be cringy when nobody's putting their hand up,
Yeah.
What do you think of the like LinkedIn applies? Do you think that's a good?
Well,
for like mobile apply.
Yeah, I think it adds value to a candidate experience. If it makes it easier, if it can remove one or two steps, then it's a good thing. But it's not the silver bullet, So if you look at something like Avature, they offer I think it's 12, or it might even be more, different ways of applying for a job when you hit that apply button, and it's just about removing friction at the end of the day. And LinkedIn, love them or hate them, they're doing a good job at that, I think, on the whole.
Being loved or hated. Sorry, no, you didn't mean that, did you?
I'm doing a good job of that as well.
Wi-Fi wobbles right as you're saying that. It's like, oh, I could take that. No, but it was funny because I was having this hilarious conversation where I had two millennials talking to me on email and two Gen Xers talking to me on WhatsApp and I think Snapchat messaging, actually.
Yeah.
And it was, somebody said to me, oh, you should get them to talk to you on the platform that you choose. It's like, it doesn't work like that.
Wow, who said that?
A Gen X. And actually two Gen Xers, to be fair, who thankfully aren't on the call. But they'll probably watch the replay knowing who there is. But it was like, well, actually, that's not my choice. So I love that Avature are giving 12 different ways. Because everyone's different and they'll use whatever's handy.
Yeah, and that mindset reminds me of when social media first came out. And a big bank in fact, it's a global bank. I think it was
narrows it down to about 5.
I think it was Goldman Sachs. I could be wrong on this actually, but I think it was Goldman Sachs. And I used this in a presentation I dined out on this for months. They publicly came out on Twitter and asked their audience to stop complaining on Twitter because that's not where their complaints department was. And I was like, oh, this is brilliant. This is like, it was such a good thing, for somebody talking and sort of using examples. It was just gold dust because, of course, if your customers are complaining, guess what? That's where your complaints department's got to be, and it's exactly the same as what you're just talking about now,
Well, people resurrect Twitter accounts just to complain because they're the only way they get an answer these days.
Well,
so
interesting.
Truly. I mean, if I wanted NatWest to answer me, I went straight onto Twitter because I couldn't get them to answer me on their phone.
Yep.
So
did they respond by Twitter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Good. And that's how I got my problem resolved. So, and that's what people do. They actually resurrect their Twitter accounts to complain.
Yeah, yeah.
It's quite funny.
Public humiliation kind of works, right?
Well, yeah. If a company is going to hide behind its brand and then ignore its customers, well, yeah, sure, it takes away the.
So we're experiencing the same thing. It's just a mindset shift. That's all.
Yeah.
And I think there's only so long we can talk about millennials and different generations of people. It's just actually, if millennials are being sort of tagged as these impatient people who want it their way and all the rest of it, I'm sat there going, I think I'm a millennial.
You haven't met me. Yeah, I am. So you can do a test. Pew Research has a test. How millennial are you?
Yeah.
And I am 94%. I'm complete millennial. So yeah, I don't agree. And also, 15 years, how can you possibly say they're all the same?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm being attacked by my Labrador, if you're wondering what's going on.
No.
Because I am a millennial and I work from home.
Yeah. What do you think about the whole theory that if you make it too easy to apply, you're going to get 100,000 horrible applicants to have to deal with? I'm just curious about yours.
I'm absolutely loving that debate at the moment because I believe that it should be incredibly easy to apply, and you should remove as much friction as you possibly can. However, if the knock-on effect of that is you get 100,000 applicants, then actually for me, it points to a different type of problem, and it points to your employer brand, and your message is just wrong because a good employer brand should be integrated with a good, solid, positive candidate experience for the right type of candidate. So a good candidate experience, a positive candidate experience should do just as good a job as attracting the right people as repelling the wrong types of people as well. So if you suddenly get deluged with 100,000 applicants, actually all you're finding is, okay, great, we've scratched a bit deeper here, we've fixed something, and it's unearthed some other problems that you can now go on and focus on and fix. And actually, it's not the worst problem in the world, because the other thing that we're starting to look at, we have lots of fun at PH all the time. Everything it's got to be a factor of fun, otherwise we don't do it. But now we're looking at actually, instead of it just being a candidate experience or a customer experience, it's just a brand experience. And a lot of brands have huge crossover. So if you do have 100,000 applicants, if you manage it correctly, even if 99.9% of them are totally wrong, then actually there's an opportunity to create brand ambassadors, build brand loyalty, even if you're letting them down gently, and dare I say it, create a revenue stream that's never existed in business before, which is where we're focused at the moment with our Virgin Media project.
So can you tell us more about that? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I was going to say, so it's interesting. So you don't get the job, but come buy our stuff.
But we've known the reverse is true for a long time, haven't we? Which is, you screw up the candidate experience, they won't buy from you, and they'll tell lots of people. So it's nice to hear it the other way around.
You're spot on. So when we went in and audited Virgin Media, we found that for every person they hired, they actually lost 2 customers because of the crossover. So they were hiring 3,500 people a year at the expense of losing 7,000 customers because of the crossover. And that was costing them £4.4 million a year that they didn't realize.
Wow.
So when we went in and we had that validated by the FD of the business. And we used 2 external companies to validate this as well, because we knew when we went in this, they were going to think, no, that's impossible. We're definitely not losing it. But sure enough, we proved it with good, solid evidence. And when we presented it back, they actually stood up and gave us a round of applause spontaneously. It was the weirdest thing in the world. But then, of course, from that level, and the net promoter score at that point was -29. For anyone not familiar with net promoter score, that's
really bad. I'm so sorry. Just give me 1 second. I'm so sorry. Keep talking. I'm so sorry.
Okay. Well, how come I don't know about the net promoter score? That's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Is that in the US too? Yeah.
Absolutely. It's typically used for customer experience, to gauge customer experience, and basically it's based on one question. That's all right.
Sorry, my dog was being sick.
I was going to say, oh no, is he all right?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. I just got somebody to deal with it. Bless him. He probably really doesn't want to deal with it, but it was like, sorry. Because I could hear it, and I was like, oh my god, what do I do?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay.
See,
That's
these
all right.
millennials that work at home. I've completely lost the thread of the whole thing.
That's right.
So
We were just talking about Net Promoter Score. So this isn't something that's typically used in recruitment and talent, but actually, to be fair to Virgin Media, they were tracking it. They just weren't doing much about it. So it's based on a principle of you ask somebody how likely are you to refer us, and if they give it's a score out of 10, anything below 7 is anything below 6 is a -1. 7 and 8 is neutral, and 9 and 10 is a +1. So they were -29. So
they were getting zeros.
They were getting
ones.
they were getting -1s across the board, really. So obviously, then
what on earth were they doing to get that bad a score?
But for their customers or their employees?
This was for their candidates. This was for people applying for jobs. Okay. They were asking them for feedback, which a lot of brands don't even ask for feedback, and that's, you know, to their credit, they were doing this, but not doing anything about it. Now, that sounds horrific and it sounds awful. It's a very well-known brand. They pride themselves with customer experience, and they're losing millions of pounds just by pissing off people through the candidate experience. But the thing is, this is
a case study for you, though.
That's wonderful. It's fantastic for us.
We've come in and sorted that out.
Well, you know, then basically we've got that to neutral now. In fact, they're +11, and in the next couple of months, I anticipate it to be much higher with our introduction of the technology, which I'm sure we'll touch on later. But their candidate experience wasn't horrendous when you benchmark it across the board, you know, in just industry. The reason they were getting such poor scores were things like just not giving good feedback, or not giving any feedback. Or not helping to prepare a candidate so they know what to expect when they turn up. And there were small things making a big difference in people's lives. You know, it's a big deal to people when they turn up for an interview and prepare and get their hopes up for a new job, right? So
well, no, that doesn't it take 1 to 2 hours just to apply for a job? I mean, I know we all think everyone just goes flick, but don't most people spend some time?
Cover letter,
sorting CV, making sure everything's right.
Between 2 to 6 hours online research before deciding whether to apply. Right? And this is a life decision. You're deciding, you know. So it's kind of a big deal. So your candidate experience starts, I call it the Disney effect, you know, the moment, the magic starts the moment you tell them, kind of thing. So the moment you apply for that job, you know, that's it. You're in that process, and the brand experience is live. So we focused on mapping the candidate experience, and there was some really quick wins that cost nothing at all to improve. You know, it's like, well, why don't we not say that and say this and do this instead and do that first and turn it upside down and paint that blue and blah, blah, blah. All things that you can do. So
it's really obvious things like don't send an autoresponder saying, thanks for your CV. You've been rejected within 2 minutes and we're going to file it for the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's just simple.
Yeah, and if somebody turns up for an interview, don't decide that they're not right after 2 minutes and say, have you got any questions for me? And then that's it, cut them short, because that's just awful. You know?
Is that what the hiring managers were doing as well?
What we found from we've done some independent research since, you know, and I really don't want to just completely slate Virgin Media.
No, of course not.
But, you know, typically what happens is an interviewer, a hiring manager might just be having a bad day, you know? So the process is only as strong as the weakest link, and if sometimes it comes down to how somebody is feeling on that day, unless you educate them around the context of how they conduct themselves, how much that matters, how it can impact the whole business, and then equip them with purpose-told stories, an agenda to stick to, make it easy for them to note down feedback that is meaningful to the candidate, positive or negative. And maybe give them some suggestions that'll add value whether they get the job or not, you know. So simple things. But this is happening across the board. And you know, whenever I've asked an audience, like, how many people have mapped, never mind designed, mapped their candidate experience, usually the numbers are really low. So
it must be changing in the US though, because of the Candidate Experience Awards, right, Audra?
I guess you would
think. I mean, I think it's becoming more popular, but it's still really, really rare. I think when we were at in Boston, I think you asked them, and I think it was one person who had done it out of about 50.
And that is that's not untypical at all. That's right. In fact, I did a talk. We were in LinkedIn's offices, and we got 50 or 60 brands in the room. We were talking about candidate experience and storytelling, and giving them an experience rather than pushing them through a process. And I said, how many people have designed a candidate experience, and how many people have designed purpose-told stories? And nobody put their hand up. So how many here are hoping for advice and guidance on how to tell a good purpose-told story? And a few people put their hand up. It wasn't until afterwards I realized that Disney were one of the people in the room basically saying, we don't know how to tell our candidates a story, which I thought was really ironic.
So, for those who don't know what you mean, which, to be honest, I've kind of got an idea of what I think you mean, but I'm not even sure that I know. What do you mean by that? Do you mean just having examples of what employees have been through in the company, or...
Yeah, well, we've studied...
What do you mean by that? Because you're using marketing jargon. So you two know what you're talking about, and I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Well,
I sit on the other side, the recruiter side, marketing.
Fair enough. Thanks for pulling me up on that. I hate it when other people use jargon. So
what the hell are you talking about? I just didn't want to say that. And nobody on the stream has gone, what are you talking about? Which is such a shame. I'm hoping someone would go, what's he talking about? Well, no, I have to show myself up.
So, no, fair point. There's a lot of information that you need to communicate and get across to candidates for various things, to pull them towards your brand and all the rest of it. And also to get them to open up about themselves, or maybe just understand the context of the role and what you're looking for. So for the last few years we've been studying storytelling as a science. So we've interviewed loads of people like neuroscientists, people from Pixar and Disney, and all the rest of it. And all the research points to, if you can wrap up information and data in a story, it's much easier to imagine and comprehend and sort of visualize, but also to remember and that kind of stuff. So when we map a candidate experience, it's not just plotting points on a process diagram. When we design a new candidate experience, we visualize it just like storyboard artists would do when they're designing a new sort of animated movie or whatever. Because the idea is, you can list a process, but you can't list an experience. You've got to bring it to life. So we design it scene by scene. And then if you imagine a storyboard of a movie, you then add the dialogue. So this is where we might talk about a good purpose-told story. So if a hiring manager talks to a candidate and says, well, when I was in your shoes, this is what I was thinking, but this is what happened, and then they tell a personal story that they can relate to. That's a personal, that's a purpose-told story that can be trotted out time and time again, which always makes the same point in the same way. But you can control the tone and the language of that story by design, and you can make sure it's on brand, etc., etc. Which means the hiring manager then has a tool to use.
Casey's just written jargon and pressed. That's the other Casey, by the way. We get confused between us. Okay. But
and then you can start to manage the consistency of the experience based on giving these stories out as tools for your team to use. Does that make sense?
Really cool.
Yeah, no, I understand. I mean, it's the sort of thing I do in training. I'm always using stories and examples, and you just make sure the tone and voice doesn't sound like you've said it before. So does that mean you've had to do a whole re-education piece with the hiring managers more than just the recruiters?
Yes, absolutely. So
how did you get around the resistance?
It's quite straightforward, really, because designing a good candidate experience means that the stakeholders, everybody involved, the cast, if you like, they need to be on board and they need to be pulling in the same direction. So we just give them a bloody good listening to start with, to be honest. And
you gave them a good listening to. Love it.
it can feel like a bit of a therapy session, because it's like, well, why do you suddenly get agitated when this happens and this happens? Or how come you can't get back to somebody with good feedback and all the rest of it? Like, well, it's just really hard. The technology's poor, or this and that, and blah, blah, blah. And, that room that I always have to use and all the rest of it. So suddenly you come back with a candidate experience design, which demonstrates that you've listened and improved the process from their perspective, then suddenly they are bought in because they've contributed to the design, and so it's not just all about the candidate at everybody else's expense. Far from it. By designing a great candidate experience, usually you'll find efficiencies in the process and back office that you never would have found had you have been just looking for them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, that completely makes sense.
I think a lot of hiring managers could do with some interview training in general.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sometimes you think...
Yeah, I know the perfect person for that, by the way.
Yeah.
I know, quite a few.
Here in the UK as well, so...
Well, yeah, maybe I need to find out who that is. I could probably get them somewhere.
Oh, her name's Sue Ingram. She's awesome. So she does a lot around how to fire people. She's also been a guest. How to fire people well so they thank you.
Oh,
but
wow.
also, she's been called all the time to do hiring manager training because they just don't know how to interview.
So
they don't know how to have those challenging conversations. And she just thinks it's really easy.
Wow.
So
is that the Phoebe Buffet technique of firing?